analyzing the costumes of the world's greatest superhero, Superman. As briefly mentioned in prior costume analysis, character design is often overlooked as unimportant to storytelling, and this concept is more prevalent in animated media. Superman made his debut to comics in the year 1938 as the world's first and most legendary superhero. He was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster and has become the archetypal template for superhero culture. Being the first of his genre, Superman has set the standard for altruistic heroes, not only in design, but also personality and powers. It's extremely common in superhero culture for at least one character to resemble aspects of the Man of Steel. In this video, we will be discussing 3 Superman costumes I adore and 3 Superman costumes I abhor. Keep in mind, this list is completely subjective. If you disagree with any of my opinions on these costumes, that's perfectly valid, and I'd love to hear about that in the comments. To end this video on a good note, we'll begin with the costumes I abhor, starting with Injustice Superman, designed by John Edwards, making its debut in the first Injustice game, April 2013. This version of Superman takes a totalitarian approach, taking over the Earth and dividing the world's superheroes in the process, a portion helping his cause, and the other siding with Batman to end Superman's oppression. Although this is one of my favorite versions of Superman, I'm not a fan of this outfit. The X shape across his waist draws a lot of attention to his crotch, something I'm not opposed to. The crest on his chest feels inflated, perhaps to symbolize his overwhelming power, but aesthetically it looks bulky. His boots extending to his knees, unlike his traditional look, adds way too much red. Sometimes I like his shoulder pads, and I get they were going for a more armored look. I'm just not a fan of the execution. We follow that up with Red Sun Superman, written by Mark Miller and drawn by Dave Johnson, making its debut April 2003. This may be an unpopular opinion, but this has never been one of my favorite Superman costumes. I understand the relevance this look offers, and appreciate how well designed it is to fit the Red Sun aesthetic, but the massive amount of gray has always repelled me. Gray has never been a good look on the last son of Krypton. I do appreciate how the Red Sun costume reflects his classic costume silhouette, but the overwhelming amount of gray blends together and doesn't make the red stand out. The black accents also dim his entire look. Again, something I know that works for the aesthetic of the Red Sun universe, but doesn't appeal to me as a flattering design. We round off the outfits I abhor with Superman Red and Blue, illustrated by Clayton Henry and Steve Lieber in 1982. We'll be covering both looks because they are literal palette swaps. First and foremost, it is nearly impossible for me to enjoy a look from the Man of Steel that doesn't have a cape. Superman made capes and tights synonymous with superhero culture, and seeing him without a cape is almost always a bad idea. This outfit has a lot of elements I enjoy seeing in superhero culture. The head wrap is something I particularly like to see on telepaths and psychics, and the full bodysuits that include gloves is a detail I'd rather not see on characters with super strength. I like the elements of this costume, I just hate them on Superman. I much prefer this version of Superman as an alternate character. I think it's fair to mention that even though these costumes made the abhor list, I don't necessarily dislike them or consider them poorly crafted. In fact, it was difficult to find any costumes that I disliked from the Man of Steel during his entire career. These just stand out as some that don't fit my personal taste. Now we start the costumes I adore with Justice Lord Superman, designed by Bruce Timm, making his debut to the Justice League animated series. This version of Superman puts him in a sleek black and white full bodysuit with the only red menacingly piercing through his chest. The white engulfing the Superman crest that drowns into his cape is my favorite part, and although I'm not always a fan of gloves on powerhouses, I do enjoy them on wicked powerhouses. It gives a sense of arrogance, like they refuse to believe they're getting their hands dirty. The bands breaking up the black around his wrists and ankles are necessary to keep the costume from appearing flushed, but it does come off a little bit odd. Overall, still my favorite time the last son of Krypton has worn black. We follow that up with Superman as he appears in the New 52's Action Comics designed by Grant Morrison, making its debut in 2011. This fresh Man of Steel donned a blue collar look, sporting loose-fitted cuffed-up jeans, beige steel-toed boots, and a fitted blue t-shirt with his iconic S on the center, and his signature red cape attached to his collar. I love how effortlessly this design reflects that Superman lacks experience. It also reminds me of my favorite Superboy's costume, Connor Kent's, that's nearly identical, minus a cape and some altered colors. This isn't the most detailed costume, but certainly gives Clark gritty appeal. Time to round off the costumes I adore with Superman as he appears in Action Comics 1043, designed by Riccardo Federecchi and Will Conrad. Was this design intended to be so sexy? Absolutely. This is not what my research has confirmed. I can just tell because this is the hottest Superman has ever looked during a story arc, truly living up to his title, the Man of Steel. Superman appears bare-chested with his iconic crest being his only upper body accessory, held together by chains connected to his signature cape. He wears briefs for modesty, of course, and his classic red boots that later switched to blue. He's not wearing much, and it's completely welcome. Superman's hair has also grayed on the sides, and he's grown a salt and pepper beard that screams
D-A-D-D-Y.
More male superheroes should look like this all the time, honestly. It's giving male Wonder Woman energy on so many levels.
Do what you do best, what you were born to do. Save the world.
Thank you for watching my short list on costumes I adore and abhor for the Man of Steel. Superman is one of my favorite fictional characters ever, and I wanted to show his brilliant design that set the standard for superhero culture some love. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, hit the notifications bell, drop a comment, and subscribe to support me in a non-monetary way. You know the typical YouTube jargon spiel. It really does help a lot though, that's why we say it. If you want to support me in a monetary way, you can always join my Patreon, and I specifically want to shout out my Wonder patrons, Jerry Jenkins, Mortonette Stevens, Kirsten Letts, and Clever B. I appreciate you guys so much for staying so dedicated and supporting me so tremendously every month as my top tier patrons. You are literally the best people in the world ever. I love you. If you would also like to support me on Patreon, you could pledge for as little as $1 a month. You get a bunch of Patreon exclusive perks like full and uncensored reactions to Arcane, She-Ra, and Fruits Baskets and other random stuff. There's Patreon only reactions too, like my Sword Art Online Progressive Movie 1 reaction. And I also post my live streams that we do on TikTok over there. So if you miss my live streams where we watch an anime that you may have wanted to see and whatnot, then you can always catch it on my Patreon later. Another way you can also help me in a non-monetary way is following me on my socials that will be on the screen and in the description box down below, especially TikTok. That's where I've been benefiting the most for social media, especially right now. So you can join me for my live streams. You can always tip me over there. You can also donate directly to me for my link tree. There's so many ways you can support me. Support me however you want. Super thanks, whatever. Just by watching. I appreciate you all so much. So more reactions to Fruits Baskets and She-Ra are coming very soon, either the beginning of next month, possibly soon, like the end of this month. It's looking more likely to be the beginning of next month, so you can look forward to that. I promise I have not forgotten. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Superman costume is and why. I would really like to see that. I think it's so interesting because so many people disregard, especially superhero costumes, as like bland, unnecessary, and without any thought. So let me know what your favorite Superman alternate costume is, or if it's the classic, anything. I'd love to hear it. What character should I cover next? And I love you. Thank you for watching. I will see you soon.